My wife and I have had our share of arguments, but one night stands out. She wouldn't stop complaining about something trivial, and when I forgot to put the toilet seat down, she yelled at me in a way that made my head spin. I couldn't take it anymore and called my buddy Paul, who offered me a place to crash for the night. I was exhausted and needed to escape my wife's nagging. Paul lived in a large house, which was another point of contention with my wife, who often complained that all my friends had nicer homes than ours. We had a few beers and enjoyed a bro chat. Paul suggested I stay as long as I needed, but I assured him it would only be for one night. I didn't want to be a burden. I slept in one of his 3 guest bedrooms, which he rarely used. The layout was odd, with all 3 guest rooms lined up next to each other, while Paul's bedroom was across the hall. This setup allowed me to hear strange noises coming from the next room. I initially thought it was Paul, but the sounds became annoying, so I decided to investigate. I tried the doorknob, but it was locked. I cracked the door open and asked Paul what the noise was. He was already in bed and hadn't heard anything. When I asked why he kept the door locked, he explained that he always secured those rooms to protect his personal belongings. I warned him about the strange noises, and he told me to go back to sleep and to return if I heard anything else. I returned to my room, but the noises had stopped. About half an hour later, I was finally drifting off when I heard a soft tap on the wall, followed by a faint voice. I bolted back to Paul's room, and this time he took me seriously. He grabbed the key to the locked rooms and unlocked the one next to mine. As we stepped inside, a cold breeze hit us. The window was wide open, and the closet was ajar. We searched the room and found marks on the bed, as if someone had been lying there. The closet was filled with empty bags, and his valuables were missing from the drawers. Suddenly, Paul dashed out into the hallway. Confused, I quickly followed him as he unlocked the 3rd guest bedroom. The sight that greeted us was chilling. The white sheets on the bed were stained with blood, and the butcher knife he had been missing lay on the floor, also marked with blood. It dawned on us that someone, most likely a dangerous drug addict, had been living in his home for over a week. Paul had even mentioned how quickly his food disappeared while he remained so skinny. It all made sense now. As far as we know, none of them were ever caught. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you're enjoying the content. This incident occurred when I was 15 years old. My best friend Anthony invited me over for the night since his parents would be away all weekend. I rode my bike to his house and parked it in his backyard before letting myself in through the back door. We played nearly every video game he owned, from FIFA to Call of Duty, with popcorn and junk food scattered across the floor. As the night progressed, we transitioned from gaming to watching half a movie, then grew bored and decided to make prank calls around 10 o'clock. Anthony called several pizza places, and when it was my turn, I dialed a few random numbers, hoping to reach someone at home. On my 4th attempt, a man with a deep, rough voice answered with a curt, "Yeah," instead of a greeting. Anthony's laughter in the background made me stumble over my words, and I burst into giggles. I had never made a prank call before, so I was terrible at it. The man on the other end fell silent. I composed myself and attempted to continue. Sir, would it be all right if I borrowed one of the wheels from your car?" "What's your name, kid?" he asked. "My name is Bob." "Really? You sure it's not Anthony?" It hit me like a ton of bricks. I looked at Anthony, whose face was filled with fear. I hung up immediately, not wanting to stay on the line for another second. "Anthony, who the hell was that?" I asked. I don't know," he replied. "Does your caller ID show your name?" "No, it shows my dad's name." We hopped on the computer to research how someone could get Anthony's name so quickly. It made no sense. He was too young to be on any personal information sharing websites. We even posted a question on Yahoo Answers, but received no responses. I suggested he call his dad, but he didn't want to because he wasn't supposed to have anyone over for the weekend. So, we decided to sleep in the living room and resumed watching the movie we hadn't finished earlier. Just as I forgot about the phone call, we exchanged glances when we heard the front storm door open, followed by the doorknob of the front door turning. It turned only halfway before the lock stopped it. Anthony turned off the TV, and I rushed to the window to see who it was. I opened the blinds slightly and saw a tall figure outside. When he noticed the movement, I quickly shut the blinds. We hid in the kitchen, listening for any further sounds. Then we heard the gate to the backyard creak open, right outside the kitchen window. "God damn it," I said. "I forgot to shut the back door." Anthony urged me to run and close it. I sprinted to the hallway leading to the back door, but froze when I saw a silhouette standing outside. I didn't think he noticed me, but he was clearly peering into the house. He opened the door and stepped inside. I tiptoed to the kitchen and signaled for Anthony to follow me upstairs. We made it to his room as quietly as possible and pulled the door shut to avoid making noise. We crawled under his bed, which had cloth covering the bottom, hiding us from view unless someone moved it. The doors downstairs creaked open, each one getting closer to the stairs. Finally, heavy footsteps began to ascend, stopping right outside our door. I could hear Anthony's breathing. It was too loud. I had to cover his mouth with my hand. Silence enveloped the room. We lay still for what felt like an eternity, almost convinced he had left. I cautiously moved my hand away from Anthony's mouth and whispered in his ear, "Do you think we can make a run for it?" He was about to answer when the most horrifying scream I had ever heard pierced the air as Anthony was seemingly dragged out from under the bed. I crawled out and saw him struggling with the man. Desperate for a weapon, I spotted a screwdriver on his nightstand. I rushed over and plunged it into the man's back. He screamed in agony, releasing Anthony and giving us a chance to escape. We knew running onto the road would expose us, so we dove into the tree line of the woods and took cover behind a bush, watching the house. The back door opened, and the man stepped outside, scanning the backyard before glancing toward the woods. I ducked behind the bush, heart racing. "Joe, he's coming," Anthony whispered. "What?" I replied, panicking. "Dude, get up, we have to run!" The man approached us quickly. How could he have seen us? We sprinted through the woods, the leaves crunching beneath us. When Anthony tripped, I crouched down beside him, hoping we had run far enough. Moments later, footsteps approached from the direction we had come, slowing down just 2 trees away. We lay face down in the leaves, holding our breath. After a tense moment, the footsteps moved off in another direction. We waited until we could no longer hear them, then cautiously made our way back toward the house. As we ran, I swore I heard leaves crunching behind us. We reached his backyard and rushed into the house, remembering to shut the back door this time. Finally, we could call the police. Anthony stayed on the line while I patrolled the back windows, trying to see outside in the darkness. In a moment of foolishness, I turned on the backyard lights. In the distance, I spotted the man standing in front of a large tree. He quickly turned and disappeared into the woods. That was the last time Anthony and I ever saw him. I would be lying if I said we experienced any cliché knocks at our windows afterward. No, that was it. 5 years have passed, and nothing has happened since. Do I wonder if it was somehow linked to the prank call? Maybe. Does it make sense? Not really. But this is the story of how my best friend Anthony and I almost died during a break-in.